The Galactic Veterinary Emergency Center on Nexus Prime looked exactly like what you'd expect from a species that thought chrome and blinking lights solved every design problem. Maya Rodriguez stood in the gleaming reception area, watching aliens with too many tentacles frantically updating holographic charts while making sounds that probably passed for professional medical discussion, but sounded more like someone gargling with marbles. "Ah, the primitive Earth veterinarian arrives," announced Dr. Klaxon Bleep, emerging from behind a wall of floating monitors. He was tall, blue, and had the kind of condescending smile that made Maya want to check if her medical degree was still in her pocket. His forearms gestured dramatically as he approached, each movement calculated to remind everyone in the room that he had more appendages than her and therefore superior medical expertise. "Dr. Rodriguez, I presume. I am Dr. Klaxon Bleep, Chief of Exotic Animal Medicine and 3-time recipient of the Galactic Veterinary Excellence Award." He paused, clearly expecting some kind of impressed reaction. When Maya just nodded, he continued, "I understand you come from Earth's quaint veterinary program." "That's right," Maya said, resisting the urge to mention that Earth's quaint program had somehow managed to keep billions of animals alive without the benefit of floating holographic stethoscopes. "Graduated top of my class, specializing in emergency and trauma care." Klaxon's laugh sounded like a malfunctioning air conditioner. "How delightfully rustic. Here at the GVEC, we deal with creatures from across 17 different star systems. Just yesterday I successfully treated a Venusian crystal spider whose venom could dissolve titanium. The day before, a Regalian phase beast that exists in 3 dimensions simultaneously." Maya wondered if it would be unprofessional to point out that she'd spent her internship treating everything from angry geese to a particularly vindictive peacock that had terrorized half of downtown Portland. Instead, she smiled politely and said, "Sounds challenging." "Indeed. Your Earth creatures, while charming in their simplicity, hardly compare to the sophisticated life forms we encounter daily." Klaxon's chest swelled with pride. "Though I suppose every medical facility needs someone to handle the less demanding cases." The other staff members, a collection of beings that looked like they'd been designed by committee, nodded sagely. Tentacles McSquishface, the head nurse, made a sound that Maya assumed was agreement but could have been digestive distress. "I'm sure I'll manage," Maya said, watching Klaxon sort through a collection of medical instruments that looked more like medieval torture devices than veterinary equipment. "Back on Earth, I ran a wildlife rehabilitation center. We saw everything from injured raptors to orphaned bear cubs." "Bears," Klaxon repeated, consulting his floating tablet. "Ah, yes, Earth classification Ursidae, danger rating moderate, intelligence rating primitive, threat assessment minimal." He looked up with the expression of someone explaining basic math to a child. "Hardly comparable to a Zephyrian battleworm or a draconian flame lizard." Maya bit back the observation that she'd also treated a honey badger once, and if Klaxon thought that was minimal threat assessment, he clearly hadn't done his homework. The honey badger had been recovering from minor surgery and still managed to escape its enclosure, terrorize the entire clinic staff, and somehow order takeout using the reception desk computer before Maya finally coaxed it back with premium cat treats. "I'm sure you're right," she said instead, because picking fights with pompous colleagues on her first day seemed like poor career planning. "Naturally. Now let me show you to your workstation. You'll be handling intake and basic examinations for the lower risk species." Klaxon gestured toward a small corner desk that looked like it had been assembled from spare parts. "We've prepared a comprehensive list of Earth creatures you might encounter, along with their proper classification and handling protocols." Maya glanced at the list floating above her new desk. According to the Galactic Veterinary Database, house cats were classified as stealth predators with psychological warfare capabilities, and goldfish were listed under aquatic life forms of unknown intelligence potential. This was going to be an interesting job. Maya had barely settled into her corner desk when every alarm in the facility started screaming like a banshee with a megaphone. Red lights flashed, holographic warning symbols materialized in midair, and what she could only assume was the alien equivalent of Code Red blared from speakers that apparently had no volume control. "Emergency incoming," shouted Dr. Tentacles McSquishface, all 8 of her appendages frantically manipulating different control panels. "Apex Predator, critical condition, ETA 3 minutes." Klaxon immediately transformed from condescending colleague to dramatic action hero, his forearms moving in synchronized precision as he donned what appeared to be a full hazmat suit crossed with medieval armor. "All non-essential personnel to safe zones immediately. This is not a drill." "What kind of apex predator?" Maya asked, watching the controlled chaos with the detached fascination of someone who'd seen similar panic when a raccoon had wandered into a shopping mall. "Earth designation Canis lupus familiaris, subspecies retriever," Klaxon announced, consulting his floating tablet while simultaneously adjusting protective gear that looked capable of surviving a nuclear blast. "Adult male, approximately 30 kilograms, golden variant." Maya blinked. "You mean a golden retriever?" The nomenclature is irrelevant. Klaxon snapped, his voice muffled by what appeared to be a breathing apparatus designed for deep space exploration. According to our comprehensive database, this creature possesses bone-crushing jaw strength, exceeding 150 pounds per square inch, pack-hunting instincts refined over millennia of predatory evolution, and psychological manipulation capabilities that allow it to infiltrate human settlements undetected. It's a dog, Maya said flatly. A weapon disguised as companionship. Klaxon corrected, his forearms now wielding what looked like tranquilizer guns, force field generators, and a device that probably cost more than Maya's student loans. These creatures have been responsible for countless attacks throughout Earth's history. Their very name strikes fear into the hearts of postal workers galaxy-wide. The emergency bay doors burst open with a dramatic whoosh that would have made Hollywood proud. A floating medical gurney rushed in, surrounded by 3 alien paramedics who looked like they were fleeing an active volcano. On the gurney lay the most dangerous apex predator in the known galaxy. It was, without question, the saddest-looking golden retriever Maya had ever seen. Buster, as his collar proudly proclaimed, was a beautiful golden boy with floppy ears and what would normally be a magnificent feathery tail, except right now that tail was tucked firmly between his legs. His left front paw was obviously injured, wrapped in a hasty bandage that had clearly been applied by someone wearing full protective gear from a safe distance of at least 6 feet. Most heartbreaking of all, he was making soft whimpering sounds that could melt titanium steel composite. "Stand back," Klaxon commanded, approaching the gurney with the caution of someone defusing a bomb. "Nurse McSquishface, prepare the containment field. Dr. Bloopington, ready the emergency sedation protocols. This creature's pack-hunting instincts will be heightened by injury and fear." The alien medical staff scrambled to comply, erecting what appeared to be a force field around the examination area, while Buster continued to whimper and occasionally attempt a weak tail wag that made him look like the world's most pathetic windshield wiper. "Look at those eyes," whispered Doc Bloopington, a purple alien with 17 different visual organs. "Classic predator hypnosis technique. It's trying to lower our guard by appearing vulnerable. Textbook manipulation," Klaxon agreed grimly. "Notice how it's exposing its injured limb to trigger our healing instinct. Millions of years of evolution have perfected this deception." Maya stared at them. Then she stared at Buster, who had managed to roll slightly onto his side and was now gazing at everyone with the universal golden retriever expression that roughly translated to "I don't know what's happening but I love you all, and also do you have treat?" "You've got to be kidding me," she muttered. "No jokes here, Dr. Rodriguez," Klaxon said seriously. "This is exactly the kind of complacency that has made these creatures such effective predators. Your Earth training may not have covered advanced xenological threat assessment, but I assure you, the danger is very real." As if to emphasize his point, Buster let out another soft whimper and tried to wag his tail again, this time managing to lift it exactly half an inch off the gurney before it flopped back down. "Behold," Klaxon declared, pointing dramatically at Buster with one of his forearms while the other 3 maintained defensive positions. "The creature is already attempting to manipulate our emotions through vocalization techniques perfected over 10,000 years of domestic infiltration." Maya watched in growing disbelief as the supposedly advanced alien medical team continued to treat a golden retriever like it was a ticking nuclear device. Buster, for his part, had managed to lift his head slightly and was now looking around the room with the confused expression of someone who'd expected belly rubs and maybe some kibble, not a full-scale military response. "Bleep," Maya said, her voice carrying the special kind of patience reserved for explaining to adults why they shouldn't be afraid of butterflies. "That's not manipulation. That's called being hurt and scared. Precisely what it wants you to think." Klaxon snapped back, consulting his floating holographic database with the intensity of a general reviewing battle plans. According to 17 different peer-reviewed xenobiological studies, Earth canines possess an unprecedented ability to exploit mammalian protective instincts through strategic deployment of what researchers term puppy dog eyes. "Puppy dog eyes," Maya repeated slowly, wondering if there was a special medical term for the condition where highly intelligent beings completely lost their minds over basic animal behavior. "A devastating psychological weapon," Dr. Tentacles McSquishface confirmed, her voice trembling with what Maya hoped was scientific excitement rather than genuine terror. "The database indicates a 97% success rate in obtaining favorable treatment from other species." Buster chose that moment to let out a particularly pitiful whine and attempt to shift his weight off his injured paw. A movement that sent the entire alien medical team scrambling backward like he'd just revealed a cache of explosives. "Defensive repositioning," Klaxon shouted. "It's preparing for a predatory strike. It's trying to get comfortable." Maya shot back, her professional composure finally cracking. "Look at him. He's got an injured paw. He's probably dehydrated. And he's scared out of his mind because a bunch of strangers in hazmat suits are pointing weapons at him." Classic misdirection, Dr. Bloopington whispered. His 17 eyes focused on Buster with the intensity of someone watching a cobra prepare to strike. Notice how it's exposing its ventral region. Textbook submission display designed to trigger caregiving response. Maya followed his gaze to where Buster had indeed rolled slightly to show his belly. But she was pretty sure that had more to do with the fact that lying on his injured paw was uncomfortable, not some elaborate psychological warfare campaign. We need to call for backup, Klaxon announced, backing away from the examination table while frantically tapping his holographic communicator. Specialized Containment Unit Gamma, Priority 1 response. We have a Code Apex situation with psychological manipulation factors in play. You are not calling a containment unit for a golden retriever, Maya said, her voice rising to match the absurdity of the situation. Standard protocol for Class 5 predators exhibiting behavioral camouflage. Klaxon replied smugly. Perhaps they don't teach proper xenobiological safety procedures at your Earth institution, but here at the GVEC, we follow established guidelines. Buster whimpered again, a sound so genuinely pathetic that Maya was surprised it didn't trigger some kind of intergalactic animal cruelty investigation. His tail made another valiant attempt at wagging, managing to achieve a full inch of lift before exhaustion claimed. Look, Maya said, fighting to keep her voice level, while you're busy consulting your database and calling for backup. That dog is getting worse. His paw needs immediate attention. He's showing signs of shock, and every minute you waste being afraid of the galaxy's friendliest species is a minute his condition deteriorates. Friendliest species. Klaxon's laugh could have shattered crystal. Rodriguez, I fear your Earth upbringing has made you dangerously naive. These creatures are apex predators that have successfully infiltrated human society so completely that their victims actually defend them. It's the most sophisticated form of parasitic manipulation in known biological history. It's called domestication, you pompous. Maya's retort was cut off by Buster managing to lift his head enough to look directly at her, his brown eyes carrying the universal golden retriever message of I don't understand what's happening but you seem nice and also I think I might be dying a little bit. That was it. Maya had officially reached her limit. Screw this, Maya muttered, reaching into her pocket and pulling out a small bag of treats she'd packed from Earth. Because apparently, some habits die hard, even in space. Dr. Rodriguez, what are you doing? Klaxon's voice pitched higher than a smoke detector with trust issues. Step away from the containment area immediately. Maya ignored him and approached Buster's gurney with the same casual confidence she'd used to pet a neighbor's dog. Which, she reflected, was essentially what this was, just with more dramatic lighting and alien panic. No, 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 Klaxon shrieked, all four arms windmilling frantically. You're entering its strike zone. The feeding behavior will trigger its attack mode. Hey there, buddy, Maya said softly, extending her hand toward Buster. The golden retriever's ears perked up slightly, and his tail managed what could generously be called a wag. You're having a rough day, aren't you? The alien medical staff watched in what Maya could only describe as horrified fascination as she gently scratched behind Buster's ear. Instead of launching into a savage attack, Buster's eyes closed in bliss, and he made a soft sound that was definitely not a battle cry. It's purring, Dr. Bloopington whispered. Is that a threat display? That's not purring, that's called being happy, Maya said, continuing to pet Buster while examining his injured paw with her free hand. And before you ask, no, it's not a psychological manipulation technique. Sometimes happiness is just happiness. Klaxon backed against the far wall, his protective gear making him look like a chrome-plated scarecrow. You're playing directly into its strategy, don't you see? It's using positive reinforcement conditioning to establish dominance. Maya shot him a look that could have melted his force field generator. The only thing this dog is dominating is my heart. Look at him. She gestured to Buster, who had now rolled onto his back and was gazing at her with pure adoration. Does this look like apex predator behavior to you? Ventral exposure. Klaxon yelped. Classic submission display designed to lower your guard before the killing strike. It's called asking for belly rubs, Maya said, obliging Buster with one hand while carefully examining his injured paw with the other. The most dangerous thing about this behavior is that it's addictive. I've lost entire afternoons to belly rub sessions. Dr. Tentacles McSquishface peered around a medical scanner, her voice trembling. But what about the bone-crushing jaw strength? Maya looked at Buster, who was currently using his supposedly lethal jaws to gently mouth her hand in the universal dog language for more scratches, please. You mean She opened Buster's mouth, revealing perfectly normal dog teeth and a tongue that immediately attempted to lick everything within reach. Yeah, terrifying. I'm practically quaking with fear. The licking. Dr. Bloopington gasped. It's trying to taste you. Predatory sampling behavior. It's called affection, Maya said, wiping dog saliva off her hand with the same nonchalance she'd used to wipe off water. Though I'll admit, golden retriever slobber could probably be classified as a mild biological weapon if you're not used to it. As Maya began treating Buster's injured paw, the dog did something that sent the alien medical team into a collective meltdown. He fell asleep. "It's powering down," Klaxon whispered, his voice carrying the terror of someone witnessing a predator enter hunting mode. "This is classic ambush behavior. It's conserving energy for a surprise attack." Maya paused in her bandaging to stare at him. "It's taking a nap. Because it's tired, hurt, and finally feels safe enough to rest. You know, like literally every injured animal does when it trusts its caregiver." "Trust?" Dr. Tentacles McSquishface repeated the word like it was a foreign concept. "But the database clearly states that Earth predators don't form emotional bonds with other species." "Your database," Maya said, applying antiseptic to Buster's paw while he snored softly, "was apparently written by someone who's never met a dog. This guy would probably try to make friends with a black hole if you gave him half a chance." Buster's snoring filled the suddenly quiet medical bay, a sound so thoroughly non-threatening that even the aliens began to look slightly confused. Maya finished bandaging his paw with practiced efficiency, then settled into a chair beside the gurney. "So what happens now?" she asked the room at large. "Do we wait for your specialized containment unit to arrive so they can be terrified of a sleeping dog? Or do we maybe consider that your comprehensive database might have missed a few important details about Earth species?" Klaxon opened his mouth to respond, but was interrupted by the sound of the emergency bay doors opening again. A small alien child, no more than 3 feet tall and covered in purple fur, came running in with tears streaming down her face. "Buster!" she cried. "Where's my Buster? Is he okay?" Maya looked at Klaxon, then at the child, then back at the supposedly terrifying apex predator who was currently snoring with his tongue hanging out. "Well," she said dryly, "this should be interesting." The purple-furred child rushed toward Buster's gurney with the kind of reckless abandon that made Klaxon emit a sound like a malfunctioning air horn. "Stop, child, you must maintain safe distance from the apex predator." "That's not an apex predator," the little alien sobbed, pushing past the force field barriers like they were tissue paper. "That's Buster. He's my best friend." Maya watched with growing amusement as the child climbed onto the examination table and gently hugged the sleeping golden retriever. Buster's tail immediately began wagging in his sleep, and he made soft, happy noises without even opening his eyes. "Impossible," Dr. Bloopington whispered, his 17 eyes focused on the scene with the intensity of someone witnessing a miracle. "The creature should be displaying territorial aggression toward an unfamiliar juvenile." "Or," Maya suggested, scratching behind Buster's ears while the child snuggled against his side, "maybe he's just a good dog who loves kids." "Revolutionary concept, I know." Klaxon frantically consulted his database, his forearms moving in panic synchronization, but the psychological manipulation protocols, the pack dominance behaviors, none of this aligns with established predatory patterns. "That's because he's not a predator in the way you think," Maya explained, settling into her role as interspecies dog behavior translator. "Dogs evolved alongside humans. We didn't domesticate them so much as we domesticated each other. They became part of our families because they wanted to be." "Families?" Dr. Tentacles McSquishface's voice carried the wonder of someone discovering fire. "But the database indicates that Earth predators maintain strictly hierarchical pack structures based on dominance and submission." Maya gestured to where Buster was now fully awake and gently licking the alien child's face while his tail created a small windstorm of happiness. "Does that look like dominance behavior to you? Or does it look like a big goofy dog who's absolutely thrilled that his favorite person in the universe came to visit him?" "The licking behavior," Klaxon began weakly, "is called giving kisses," Maya interrupted. "It's how dogs show affection, along with tail wagging, face licking, and that thing he's doing now where he's trying to crawl into her lap despite weighing 60 pounds. Indeed, Buster was attempting to transform himself into a lapdog with the determination of someone who had never encountered the concept of physics." The alien child giggled as he settled his massive golden head on her tiny legs, his entire body radiating contentment. "But surely this is an anomaly," Klaxon protested, though his voice lacked its earlier conviction. "One specimen cannot represent an entire species classification. Want to bet?" Maya pulled out her phone and showed them a collection of photos she'd taken at her clinic back on Earth. "This is Rex with the Johnson family. This is Princess Buttercup with her human toddler. This is Max, who works as a therapy dog at a children's hospital. And this," she swiped to a particularly adorable photo, "is Duchess, who once jumped into a river to save a drowning cat." The alien medical staff gathered around her phone like it was displaying classified information, which, Maya reflected, it basically was. They all exhibit this behavior?" Dr. Bloopington asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Every single one, Maya confirmed. That's what domestic dogs do. They love their families, they protect children, they comfort the sick, and they'd rather die than hurt someone they care about. Your database got it exactly backward. Klaxon made a sound like deflating balloon. But the comprehensive threat assessment, the peer-reviewed studies, were probably written by people who never actually spent time with dogs, Maya said gently. Sometimes the most accurate data comes from direct observation, not theoretical analysis. He saved me once, the alien child said quietly, her small hand resting on Buster's head. There was a fire in our building, and Buster barked and barked until everyone woke up. Then he led us all to safety. She looked up at Klaxon with eyes that held the special kind of wisdom that only children and golden retrievers possessed. He's not dangerous. He's a hero. Maya watched Klaxon's worldview crumble in real time as Buster demonstrated his terrifying apex predator skills by rolling over and presenting his belly for more scratches. The alien child obliged, and Buster's leg began moving in the automatic scratching motion that every dog owner recognized. So, Maya said, unable to keep the smug satisfaction out of her voice, still think he's a psychological warfare specialist? Or you may be ready to admit that your database might need a few updates. Klaxon looked at his comprehensive threat assessment charts, then at Buster, who was now attempting to play fetch with a medical instrument while simultaneously getting belly rubs. Perhaps, he said slowly, our classification system requires some revision. 3 weeks later, Maya had officially become the Galactic Veterinary Emergency Center's Earth Species Specialist. A title that sounded impressive until you realized it basically meant the person who explains why aliens shouldn't be terrified of hamsters. Her new office, significantly larger than her original corner desk, featured a wall-mounted display showing her latest cases. There was Whiskers, a tabby cat who had sent the entire night shift into lockdown when someone spotted her predatory stalking behavior in the ventilation system. Turned out she'd just been chasing a reflection. Then there was Captain Fluffington, a rabbit whose rapid multiplication capabilities had triggered a biological contamination alert. Maya had patiently explained that rabbits didn't actually reproduce by mitosis, no matter what the database suggested. Her personal favorite was the great hamster incident of last Tuesday, when Dr. Bloopington had called for emergency backup because Peanut, a particularly rotund Syrian hamster, had escaped his habitat and was exhibiting concerning hoarding behaviors. Maya had found Peanut in the supply closet, cheeks stuffed with medical gauze, looking like a furry ping-pong ball with legs. The psychological complexity is astounding, Klaxon had said, observing Peanut's impressive cheek capacity. It's creating a resource cache using advanced spatial calculation techniques. He's storing bedding material, Maya had replied. Hamsters do that. It's not advanced spatial calculation, it's instinct. But the precision with which it selects materials. Klaxon, he grabbed whatever was soft and squishy. There's no grand strategy here. Now sitting in her office reviewing the day's cases, Maya reflected on how her relationship with the alien medical staff had evolved. They still consulted their database religiously, but now they also asked her opinion before declaring interspecies war on every Earth creature that wandered through their doors. Tentacles McSquishface had even started bringing her coffee, though Maya wasn't entirely sure what species it came from and had decided not to ask. Some mysteries were better left unsolved. The comm system chimed, and Klaxon's voice filled her office with its characteristic blend of authority and barely controlled panic. Dr. Rodriguez, we have an incoming emergency. Multiple casualties. High-priority transport from the Kepler system. Maya grabbed her medical kit and headed for the emergency bay, wondering what new Earth species she'd need to defend today. Maybe a particularly aggressive parakeet, or perhaps a guinea pig that someone had mistaken for a bioweapon. She arrived to find the alien medical team already suiting up in their protective gear, but with considerably less drama than 3 weeks ago. Klaxon approached her with what she'd learned to recognize as his trying to be professional while secretly panicking expression. The incoming creatures are listed in our database as Class 7 apex predators, he said, consulting his tablet with the careful attention of someone defusing a bomb. However, given recent about Earth species classifications, we thought it prudent to consult with our specialist before implementing full containment protocols. Maya nodded approvingly. Progress. What species are we talking about? Phyllis catus, multiple specimens, various colorations. Klaxon read from his tablet. The database indicates extreme territorial aggression, nocturnal hunting behaviors, and psychological manipulation capabilities that exceed even the golden retriever classification. Cats, Maya said flatly. The data is quite extensive, Bloopington added, his 17 eyes bright with scientific interest. Apparently these creatures have successfully enslaved entire human populations through strategic deployment of vocalization techniques and tactical affection distribution. Maya opened her mouth to explain that cats weren't actually running a shadow government. then paused. Because honestly, sometimes it really did feel like they were. Well, she said carefully. Cats are different from dogs. Different. Klaxon leaned forward with the intensity of someone receiving classified intelligence. They're more independent, less overtly friendly. They show affection in subtler ways, and they definitely have stronger personalities. Maya chose her words carefully, because she'd learned that alien medical databases had a disturbing tendency to take metaphors literally. But they're not dangerous. Well, not usually. Not usually. Dr. Tentacles McSquishface's voice carried a note of alarm. The emergency bay doors opened before Maya could respond, and the transport team rushed in with their cargo. Maya took one look at the incoming casualties and felt her blood run cold. Because these weren't house cats. These were 3 very large, very wild, and very unhappy-looking creatures that definitely belonged to the Phalis family, but were significantly higher up the food chain than anything that had ever knocked a coffee mug off a kitchen counter. Oh, Maya said, staring at what appeared to be some kind of alien big cat hybrid with extra teeth and an attitude problem. Oh, this is not good. Klaxon, who had been preparing to greet the harmless earth creatures with his newfound confidence, took one look at the snarling, definitely not domestic felines, and began backing away with renewed respect for database classifications. Rodriguez, he said, his voice climbing several octaves. These don't look like the cats in your photographs. One of the alien big cats chose that moment to emit a roar that shook the medical equipment and made every alarm in the facility start screaming again. Maya watched the alien medical team dive for cover behind anything that looked remotely protective, while the supposedly harmless Phyllis catus specimens proceeded to demonstrate exactly why some classifications in the database might actually be accurate. Yeah, Maya said, grabbing the nearest tranquilizer gun and wondering if her Earth veterinary training had covered alien saber-toothed space cats. I think you guys might want to update that database entry. As chaos erupted around her and the alien medical team rediscovered their appreciation for proper safety protocols, Maya couldn't help but laugh. Because apparently, in a galaxy full of advanced civilizations and comprehensive databases, the most dangerous thing you could encounter was still a pissed-off cat. Some things, it seemed, were universal.